Good evening, lovely people out there. We are very happy to have an amazing lady with us tonight. It is Eliana Baucicault from Elly B Events, all the way from the States. So for you, it's a very good afternoon, I think. For all the other people, it is between midday and evening. So thank you very much for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Eliana, I mean, when people see what you are doing amazing work in terms of events. I mean, everyone can just follow you on your Instagram and see the amazing stuff that you are doing. But we want to know a little bit more about the person behind the brand and like how actually you got to where you are. And I think maybe right now, everywhere in the world, people reflect, they have some time that they never had before, to also just think about like what was their career path and where is it going from here. So tell us a little bit about your story, like your passion for events. Like, did it start early on? Were you just like thrown into it? I know you're also publishing some books. So how did it all maybe interlead into each other?
Yeah, definitely. So I went to college for business. So I always knew I would own some kind of business. I had no idea what it would be. When I was younger, I thought it would be laundromats and liquor stores. Now that I think about it, no wonder why I thought that it would have been an essential business. Yeah, like so now I'm like, no wonder I wanted an essential business from when I finished school. So I always thought it would be those two things. I knew those were things that would always make money. I had no idea it would be events or weddings or anything like that. It wasn't until I was planning my own actual wedding where I was just helping other brides. It wasn't like I did my wedding, now I could do yours type of vibe. It was more of, here's some great ideas I came across. I can't really use them because it's not my vision and not my theme, but someone else could use them. So I would continuously flood ladies every single day with ideas that I thought could take their events to the next level. So from there, at the time I was working for law firms. I did project management for law firms, which I laugh all day and say I do exactly the same thing right now that I did for law firms, just not for lawyers, but for brides and grooms.
Can I ask you, sorry to interrupt, when was that? Like, which year are we talking?
Yeah, I stopped working for corporate America in 2010. So I'm going on my 10-year anniversary of being full-time.
Wow.
This anniversary, 14 years, but 10 years of being full-time. So I kind of moved. I was from New York, lived in New York, moved to Atlanta. I did not think that I was going to continue my business. I was so young in my business that I could have walked away at any time. I think at that point, my business was only about 3 months old. And honestly, through the grace of God, I just kept getting inquiries because of the little details I would think that I was adding to the table. I did not start off thinking that I could design. I'll be honest, for the first 2 years, I thought I didn't have the skill. I was very intimidated by the thought of it because at that point, style shoots were new. And everyone was doing it. And I was like, I can't do that. Like, I don't know how these people are doing it. Like, I don't have the skill to do it. And eventually I did it and got hooked and never walked away. And from there, it was just of how do I make my design, my planning, my business stand out? Because a planner is a planner is a planner, right? And florist is a florist is a florist. It's a floral design with a vase. Like, you can turn it this way and make it a little bit different, but you have to bring something unique to the table. So I think I learned that pretty like in the middle of my career. So I knew I had to make something different. So for me, it was unique floor plans, how to work with color. A lot of people at the time, a lot of designers even now are scared of color. It's kind of easy to get away with white, like white is just, it looks
Flush.
abundant. Yeah, it's plush, it's abundant, and you've done your job. But when you have to work with color and you can't just use roses and hydrangeas, you have to bring in some texture. You have to bring in different florals. You have to learn more. So I knew at that time that if I could make that wow statement with my floor plans and my unique color palettes, that it would help. From there, I went ahead and I published my very first coffee table book. My coffee table book was not only reflective of just my work that I've done, but I always said I wanted to have a book that as a bride or groom, because everyone's getting married. We love wins. I wanted someone of color to walk into the store, the bookstore. You know, you're going to go buy a planner. That's the very first thing anyone getting married does. You buy a planner to plan out all your vendor meetings, and get all these tips and tricks. It's like the rite of passage. So I wanted when they walked into that bookstore to buy their planner that they would walk by on the shelves and see a woman of color on the cover of a book, not just a magazine. I went for the juggler. I was like, forget the magazines right now. I'm worried about the book, right? Because that's what I can control 100% at the time. So I produced a coffee table book. Beautiful. We had one of the America's Next Top Models on the cover. So I was really blessed from the start that a lot of my vendors that I obviously work with, we did half of the book was style shoots, other half were my couples, because I realized that my clients' weddings were even better than some styled shoots. So there was no way that I could go ahead and leave them out. From there, after the book launched the magazine, and I said, you know, I'm not the only one that's doing amazing work. I want to shine light on all the other people of color, Black people particularly, that's doing great work and don't have the opportunity to shine as they should. So that's what launched the Be Collective magazine. Very long answer to your very short question.
No, no, we want to, I mean, we really like listen what you are saying, because we're not interested in short answers. I mean, like the more people explain and express, like the more interesting it's actually for everyone, at least for us, and I think everyone else, because to listen to an individual story of someone is so interesting. Sometimes you feel like connected because you had a similar story. Sometimes you feel like, wow, they also did not start like that high, you know, they all started somehow on a, I don't know, in a living room, on a, I don't know, kitchen table,
Like
someplace, you know, not always in a 25th level like luxury office somewhere.
Right.
And that's what we also want to let people know, you know, there is a journey. And this morning I was listening actually to a public speaker, and he said something what was very interesting. The journey is necessary for everyone's success, because no one that starts is actually at a very high level. You start somewhere, and even your mistakes guiding you to who you become actually later, a couple of years. So there is a natural path that we all have to go, and I think it's interesting to listen to everyone's natural path, and it's part of all our journey.
And sorry, like maybe to say that, I mean, you said you started out as a lawyer, but now, like, obviously it is something, and specifically now, like after like COVID hit, that is surely something that you're using every day. Like, it's a skill, it's something that was not wasted, you know. And I think also this is for a lot of people very interesting, that even though you might have started out like as someone doing something, this might not be your end destination, but it will help you most probably 80% of the time to reach where you are right now, or even those skills that you can use like in your current situation
to make the right contract.
Yeah,
contracts. And I mean, that is now something, I mean, supplier contracts with couples, it's surely something that helps you like to just also secure both sides.
Right. So I wasn't a lawyer. I worked for law firms doing project management. However, you're absolutely right. If I didn't have that background that I obtained when I worked for law firms, I wouldn't even before COVID, I wouldn't be able to run the business that I run. And I think that's what we see lack sometimes in creative businesses, is that you don't have that corporate America structure. So I knew there's no difference between my goal when I was doing project management was to get the lawyer to win the case, right? So I had to provide all the tools, try to find a smoking gun in order for them to go ahead and win. And it's the same thing with my clients. Their goal is to get down that aisle and to have an amazing event. So I have to give them all the tools and let them, and the smoking gun in order to produce that. So it's like you said, it's so important that whatever your skill set is, because sometimes I think people give the wrong message and look down on when people have 9-to-5s or when they have corporate jobs and they're making a living. I've always told people, learn whatever that little thing is that you do so well when you're working for corporate America, and apply it to your business. Because if you've already achieved all that success and that skill, you take that and now apply it to what's yours, you're gonna win tenfold.
Mm-hmm. Yes, no, I completely agree. And I mean, I think, right now, I think a lot of people are like on the verge of like trying to establish with whether what they have been doing in the past is the right thing or whether they need to move on. Nonetheless, I think whatever you have done in the past or up until now will help you and will guide you to where you need to go. And I think that is just also an important message. And we hear this like actually almost every story, no one really started out as like the person that they wanted to become or like to have the job that they wanted to have. Like there was always like a journey that led them to where their passion eventually like fully bloomed. Like you now you say, you know what, even like in the beginning you didn't even like realize that, like, I mean, designing was something that you could like do. And I mean, you do this so beautifully, like every picture that one sees on your Instagram and like on your feed and like in the book, just amazing. So I mean, there is really, and this cannot be trained, like this is something that is within you. It is something that you either live by or you need to outsource it. But if you have it, then it's amazing if you can find the way to actually really live it. So that's beautiful. Tell us maybe a little bit right now, I mean,
can I ask you before you come, because otherwise we walk away from your book. I wanted to have one more question about your book that comes just to my mind when I hear that you said you wanted to have a book with, you had a specific idea in your mind. How difficult it was actually to publish that book? Because I mean, I listened to the story of Jacqueline Wobo about her magazine, launching her magazine with all the obstacles that she had to overcome. But was it with your book the same, that you had lots of difficulties, or was it with the book easier than maybe for a magazine?
Yeah, so I didn't have a lot of obstacles, to be honest. When it came down to the book, I self-published. I knew I could go to any publishing house and tell them what I was thinking, and they would have taken it up. But I specifically did not do that because I didn't want my vision to be altered at all. So it was more important for me to make that financial investment to keep my voice. So from there, I had to learn paperweight, terms that printers use, and go through tons of samples. I was fortunate enough that I've already had a couple people in the industry, like a Preston book that I thought was beautiful. I love the size, or Jeff Latham's book, which was complete. Like the size of my book is the exact same size of Jeff Latham's book because I know what it felt like when I held that book. So that kind of helped me when I referenced. And which I think there's nothing wrong with. Like, as long as you're not copying, you can, if someone does something well, reference it, of course, and use it as inspiration.
Of course.
Yeah. So from the book, I was able to honestly know what the magazine a little bit better because I already knew paper. I already had a graphic designer that designed my book, so they designed the magazine. The only thing that was a little bit difficult and that was new was learning about distribution, which Time Inc., the minute that they knew about the magazine, they went ahead and said, we're down, we'll do whatever. And they placed it in stores from the very first issue. Obviously the print world has changed because of the climate that we're in. So a lot of printers have closed. So what I was printing my magazine on the first 2 issues is now triple the cost of my 3rd and 4th issue, just because print is not dying, but it's a little bit more exclusive. But honestly, I took the skills, again, like we were saying before. So I took the skills from my law firm, applied it to my planning business. I took the skills from my planning business and applied it to the publishing world. So I knew what brides and vendors were looking for. I knew what vendors, if they're advertising, how to be honest and say, listen, placing an ad is not going to have them beat down your doors. That's what I want them to do. But is it reality if that's exactly what it's going to do? No, but I will work as an extension of your brand. So I was able to approach things differently because I took my experiences and applied it to what I'm doing.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
No problem.
And you said, and I think that's maybe right now even more important than in the past, where I think it was always important. But you said you wanted to also like see something on the shelf, maybe that would represent more also your own maybe color
Yeah.
and your like your background, your culture, and to speak to people of your own circle in
Right.
a way. And I think, I mean, in the time where we speak about Black Lives Matter, I think such a book has even more value uh, than maybe people realized it
Right.
before.
Right.
Like how important do you think is like raising a voice right now, even in this time? Because we know it's very sensitive. We know, I mean, it goes around the world. I mean, we here in South Africa, we hear it and we are far away. But like, what is your position right now, and how you maybe even think about the future of the book and the importance of the book and continuing this, like taking everything in consideration, what is happening right now, specifically in the States?
Yeah, it's a great time to be Black. That's my first honest answer. It's a great time. You know, what has afforded during this whole Black Lives Matter, specifically in the wedding and event space, is that we finally have the voice and courage to speak up and talk about the inequality that we have felt for oh so long. Because this entire time it has been a white wedding world and a Black wedding world, and the vendors don't cross. It doesn't mix. The consumers don't even cross. So what the Black Lives Matter movement has been able to do is say, hey, we are here and this is how we feel. It's not necessarily that they don't know about the B Collective or Mona Lucia, whoever it is, that they know about it, but they don't rate it the same. They don't give it the same amount of respect that it should. Although we do, no matter what we do, we have to work 10 times harder as a Black person. So it really has opened up eyes for ignorancy. And I think a lot of the ignorancy is not always malicious. It's not because we're being held back because they necessarily want to. It's just the privilege has afforded them not to acknowledge that we exist. And what has happened over the last month, I would say, is constant conversations with the big names that probably would never show up and have conversations before. And honestly, them allowing themselves to be called out and to say, look, this is what you've done. This is how we feel. Whether you meant to or not, this exists and it happens, and now what you're going to do about it. And we've seen a good majority of the industry step up and say, hey, I didn't know, or I did know and I didn't care enough to fix it. However, I'm willing to be an ally now and change that conversation, change that perspective, change what the real world looks like on our feed. Or, you know, a lot of them have adopted a lot of publishers have adopted different ways of how they're going to step up to the plate, or even CRMs, they've all stepped up. So I think we're going to see a huge change. I've always just asked for the huge change to be subtle, that way it's genuine, you know. What I hate is like, okay, I'm gonna show a bunch of Black people. Like, Black people aren't new. Like, we've been here from the beginning, right? So when you do it that way, you're just saying, hey, I understand I've ignored you, now I'm going to acknowledge you, versus you just making changes in your business to make it a permanent change. So I think we're going to see, I always say, out of everyone that stepped up, I say about 60% will honestly look at their business structure, look at what they're doing, make a change. And fortunately enough, there are people that pre-existed, like the B Collective and other publications, that say, hey, we've been doing it all along. For me, my stance has been, we've been doing it all along. We now have allyship. I'm going to help the allyship be great as well, because if we're all great, then love wins. It's all about love in our industry, right? So I want our industry to prevail, not to be the best Black or the best white publication. I just want everything to just come together as a melting pot, because we live in a melting pot. So as long as that's being acknowledged, we're moving forward.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
It's important. And if I can be very honest, I mean, I'm not so sure what you think about that, but for me, like when this whole discussion came up, it was very much surprising, actually, to me as an outsider, to see that still those separations, as you also just described, that you never crossed the borders internally, let's say that, that still exist, actually. I mean, I knew, okay, there was no like magazine for Brides of Color and certain things like that. But that it was still that much separated, that really surprised me, as somebody looking from outside into your wedding or event world, let's say like that, because I thought actually that that's something that is maybe
a thing of the past.
Yeah,
I mean, here in
yeah,
South Africa,
exactly.
we are like 26 years past apartheid, you know,
Yeah.
and I think we are, like, we call ourselves a rainbow nation. So we have, I mean, really all the colors, like here, from Indians to white, like many different African cultures. It's a huge melting pot in that sense. But I think for us, for our country
Yeah.
here, at least I can say, like, there are ways that cross.
Yeah.
I mean, there
Yeah.
are there is not such a separation actually, and I mean, we have a complete different history as well, like as a country in South Africa.
I mean, obviously, an Indian wedding is approached maybe more from an Indian couple to an Indian
Planner.
planner. That is more or
But
less
not
like
from a supplier side of thing. Like from a supplier side
yeah.
of thing, I think it's very
Yeah.
open, and it just really matters about the quality of the work that you deliver.
Yeah.
And I think that is overall, at least in my perspective, like that has nothing to do with racial
Right.
backgrounds. You know,
Right.
I mean, you are there because you're doing a fantastic job, and this should be always the priority of how you select your vendors, or how you like make sure that you have the right fit for a special event or for a special project. And I think that is at least something that
Yeah.
we really
Yeah.
like want to also communicate.
That's why I thought we are actually far behind America, but maybe this is not even the case.
I think
I was so surprised.
Yeah, and that's another thing, you know, because we are such a progressive nation that you realize how much we haven't progressed, you know. So that's hurtful to see and understand, but just know that there's some hope. We all have hope, and I've always told people to have hope and have grace is all we can do during these times.
No, never give up the hope, and
No.
and that there will be also times after November, so that is that's also for sure.
But maybe looking into the future, like, I mean, you have done amazing events, you have amazing clients, you have already, I mean, your event side, you have the publishing side of the book. Where do you see like Elly B is going? Like where do you want to take your business? Or is there maybe something that now came up as well during this time where you thought maybe this is a niche, or this is something that is opening up for us, where I want to take my business?
Yeah, so Elly B, so it's like I'm a split personality. So Elly B side of things, the planning and design, honestly, I'm taking it back. And I say taking it back, going a little bit back to the beginning where networking was key, relationships were key, being creative was key. At some point, I lost my passion for design, just based on what's the industry, the copying, it's just so much, right? So I'm working on myself to find that passion again through photo shoots, through particular clients, you know, and getting back to that. So that's a journey in itself, and that's probably a journey that I need to really document, because I think that's a part that we don't talk about. We don't talk about the years of depression that you can face. We don't talk about when you just don't feel like you can do it anymore, or you don't feel like you don't believe in yourself anymore. And what does that look like? And it's bouncing back an option. You know, some people might feel that way and completely leave our industry, and some people may just suffer through it to the end. I've been very vocal about what I've gone through mentally, and I'm just now within the last few weeks realizing, like, really, what do I want to do when it comes down to my planet business, and what will make me happy? You know, maybe just because I just turned 40 why I feel this way, but I literally, like, what does it look like? Is it 10 events? How many? I literally can tell you.
You look like 25.
Thank
you. You look like 25. That's
Thank
for
you.
sure.
But yeah, definitely, like, how many events does that look like? What, you know, I love having my weekends. Like, we all have to face that now that we've gone through the pandemic and we've been home a lot more. How much of that do we want to give up when we get back to normal, if there is a normal, right? So, like, yeah, just figuring that side out for Elly B. The pandemic, though, for the B Collective, I hate to say it, has been amazing. And I say it's amazing because we've been able to really express what we're trying to do with the brand. It's so much more than the magazine. So we have the digital side, which is, you know, the platform and literally not only creating a directory for prospective clients to find vendors, but really delving into the back end and making sure the structure, whether it's website to tools to systems, making sure all those things are in place. From there, we are also launching a baby magazine. It's coming out sooner than later because we want to, that Black family, as we said, it's a great time to be Black. That Black family is so important. So it's really like after the aisle, what's happening? You know, how kids hair texture is different. You know, what products should be used, what styles. You know, we've seen for the past couple of years, which I'm really just thinking about how many times we've seen in the news here in the States where a kid has been sent home because their hair is different, because they have dreadlocks, or they are being forced to cut their dreadlocks because on a wrestling team. Like, these are things that we are suffering from in the States that no one's addressing. So maybe if we make it a little bit more normal and through the media will help. So we have so much in store. You know, I will be launching a design course. I can go on, and but if you talk to me next, it'll be 5 more things I've added. So just continuing to add to the brand. I don't consider it a pivot at all. It's really just adding on it, because it has to be added on substance, and it has to make sense. So every project that I work on, it doesn't come from nowhere. It's just like, oh, of course she's doing it. Like, of course that's that, you know? So, and that's what I just want to continue working on.
Okay. I think it's very honest,
Yeah.
like a very honest approach. And I thank you for this, because not everyone is also so honest and open in the industry, specifically someone who is, looked up to by so many as well. But I think it's very important. And I think also a lot of our industry peers have experienced exactly what you said. You know, nobody talks about that we work when other people are celebrating. Nobody talks about how drained you can be after like producing an event. But also that you have an event like the next week. So that means like actually after the first event is finished, you already start working like on the next event. And I think that is just something like generally that that also us as human beings, we are also private people, even though we are out there as event planners, you know, and we want to make other people happy. And this is our goal, you know. We always give more than we take. This is why we do it. We do it to see other people smile, but nonetheless, by the end of the day, most of the cases we forget that we also need energy to smile. And I think that is just also something that has come out of this pandemic for a lot of us. We came from 180 to 0, like just like that. But it has shown us in a way that we also need me time, you know. We also need that time to re-energize and to also get like energy to actually like go out there and to represent and to just come up with new ideas. And because a lot of things that we speak like to so many entrepreneurs that said, you know, I'm almost shy to say it, but this time right now has been good for me. Not for my business, but it has been good for me as a person.
Even me this morning, I said, I like this lockdown, you know, because you can sleep longer. You have not really this strong pressure on you, you know. This is somehow a kind of freedom I haven't had for the last, 30 years or something. And I at the beginning, I felt a bit guilty, but I have adapted to the point to say, I just start enjoying it, you know. Why feeling guilty? I cannot change the situation, because the situation is the same all over the world. It's not just me here or whatever, you know. So and I said to Alfie, you know, we have to make the best out of the time, because I'm afraid this will not come
so soon.
It's definitely a God reset. I think I knew that from the beginning. I was like, oh, he's just resetting. Like, he's just resetting for us to like take things into perspective. When it comes down to weddings and events, I don't think we will be anywhere to what we consider normal to 2022, 2023. You know, and even then, what truly is normal? I think that during this time is to define what that is. You know, we're going to see clients that's going to probably lower their guest counts and making sure it's the people that they truly love and cannot live without. And then you're going to have some people that always still want over the top, but a lot of people that wasn't sure if they wanted over the top will settle for less and more intimate. So based on the fact that our industry is going to change, we have to also change with it and say, okay, well, am I okay with giving up my entire life? I didn't take a real vacation in life until like 5 years ago. And I remember just having a taste of that. I was like, oh my God, if I don't have a trip planned, I wouldn't feel myself. And it's literally like you're just forcing yourself to just like, I need more, because you realize that you weren't living, you know? And we have to live. If we're not living, it's like they say, you can't pour from an empty cup, right? So if we're not living and experiencing it and having some sense of joy, then we really are not giving the clients the joy that we think we are, you know, because we're coming from a fake happy place because our heart is not happy, you know? So just being able to reset and think about those things.
Yes. We have a happy place for you. Just maybe tell her about Africa.
Yes, I mean, Africa is most definitely a place where a lot of people can rejuvenate, and I think can just take a lot of energy from. I mean, we are here obviously to be also ambassadors for Africa, because we think not only for private people, this is just like for a lot of people a very unnoticed place,
right.
And maybe also very unknown about, which we obviously try to change as well,
in particularly for people of color, because we think this is somehow your roots, you know, this is somehow a place where you came from, or your generations before, your ancestors came from.
Right.
That's why actually we also would like to invite people to Africa, because we just recently launched the Weddings in Africa platform, where we invite people to come to Africa for events, just to get to know about Africa. And this is so diverse. There's the nature, the destinations, like different countries, Zambia, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Rwanda. A lot of people, maybe even in America, maybe see Africa as one big thing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we do, absolutely.
We wanted to change that. We want to invite people, maybe people like you. I was just thinking, like, while I was listening to you, I was just thinking maybe that we should introduce you to the plans that we have for maybe next year, when travel is permitted again. We would like to invite planners from all over the world for a journey to get to know Africa,
and to maybe get inspiration back, you know. And I think this is also what you said. I mean, we all ask ourselves, like, where do people, like, in your capacity as well, like, get your inspiration from? And this is now maybe also what you said, you know, if your energies are low, it's difficult to get inspiration from. But if you've seen different things, if you've broadened your horizon, and I think traveling, like, generally, is one of the best ways.
The number one. The number one way. Like, and like last year I went to 8 countries alone. Like, I went to Morocco. I mean, and you go to these places and you realize how what living looks like, right? So just being able to experience the different cultures, the different colors. It could be as simple as different color palettes that you've never thought about, and it's every day in Marrakesh, and you just see them. You see a bag, you're inspired by that, you know. So I think you're right. It's what I was saying earlier, is coming away from the screen, because you can only go so far on Instagram. You can only go so far in all these places. If you got to take yourself away from that in order to be rejuvenated again. And I will tell you, traveling is my thing. Like, if I'm feeling down, or I just feel like I literally woke up to someone's like, I need a vacation. I was talking to my love, and I was like, if anything, I deserve a vacation from this pandemic. And I know it sounds crazy, but I deserve a vacation from this pandemic. So it's literally, you're right. And while you were talking, I was like, you're right. There's all these different countries and nations that we don't know about. But right now, before even the pandemic, as a Black person, traveling is such a big deal, beyond weddings and events, right? So traveling is such a big deal in the Black space. It's how to marry the two. So as we know right now, because social media is queen and king, everyone wants to go to a particular Bali swing, let's take for example, and you have to go to Bali, you have to take a picture in this swing. I think there needs to be some awareness of different hotspots and picturesque backgrounds in Africa that, like, oh my God, if I don't, that hill is a perfect hill to be married on with this scenic background. oh, we don't have that knowledge. There's no bridge that has been made, especially with here in the US.
Yeah, and I mean it's also, and I'm very honest, this is all our fault here in Africa, or our mistake, that we have not put Africa on the map in the right spot. As you said, everybody knows Bali, everybody knows, I mean, France, Italy, the Provence, and Tuscany, and everything.
Right.
Everybody in the world knows these places,
Right.
but not everyone in the world knows the beautiful places like the Victoria Falls, or the places in Kenya. I mean, like, just have a look. We just recently put on the Weddings in Africa the beautiful pictures from Miss Kenya in the Masai Mara.
Okay.
I can tell you, people, they see these pictures, they want to go there.
Right.
So I think we have all made this mistake not to sell Africa in the right spot, and I think we want to change that, and maybe there is another time when we can talk about that, and we can maybe make a plan, making a photo shoot for one of your new books. Maybe that's an idea.
That would be awesome. I mean, look at even the Giraffe Manor. I hear there's a wait, like that simply can show you just on how one picture can go viral. And now everyone's, I think the wait I heard was like at least a 2-year wait, unless you were doing it for like a magazine or something like that. But, if there was like you said, a shoot there where you see a bride and groom or a couple getting married, now that changed the landscape. So, okay, wait, I don't have to go to the Caribbean for my destination wedding. There's a whole other world. And you slowly started to see that shift. So I definitely have seen over the last year or two an increase in Italy weddings, Paris more for more of that photo shoot because everyone wants to do the engagement session with the Eiffel Tower. But people are looking to have these destinations to create these experiences. They just have to know that it's out there.
And I think also, I mean, comes for traveling just generally. I think after this pandemic, people will be much more adventurous, because they know their time is limited. They know that if they want to do something, they need to do it now. And they want to do something that has been like, not maybe something that has been on their bucket list, a safe item, but like more, maybe even more like a very adventurous way. And I mean, Africa, of course, like is adventurous in the sense that it's really untouched but still beautiful, and you get like high-end luxury service providers here, which are also unknown of in most cases, but it is just something that like I think is also like going to see much more interest over the next
elephants not walking on our streets, so people don't have to be afraid about that. But I also think like due to the pandemic and the situation that people can maybe not celebrate in these big numbers anymore, or not like quite soon, the culture of maybe events or destination weddings will also change a bit. Maybe people will think, instead of having a wedding of 200 people, maybe we have a smaller wedding somewhere, I don't know necessarily in Africa, but somewhere on a beautiful place, just with people that are most important to me, maybe 20 or 30 close family and friends. I totally believe that also in the way of planning weddings, there will be a change. Do you think that that's the case also, like
we will have
clients?
Absolutely. We will have to in the industry in a whole. It's inevitable. Like I was saying before, people are definitely going to make sure that they're surrounded by people who care. Even when it comes down to destination, wanting to give experiences, it's going to be a lot more about the experience. The party part will be celebrating that, who's still here with you, who's still having life. And like you say, life can change in an instant. So things will definitely change. I think the biggest change is going to be guest count more than anything, which I think it's good, because I think at some point it just started getting a little ridiculous, So you're definitely going to get US standards on average are about 150. So I think you're definitely going to have those 80-person weddings. I think that the dollar amount may not change as much, but again, taking that money and investing it into people that you care about.
Yeah. And also where you get most value for your money. I mean, like that's also something what maybe is quite important.
Tell us maybe something about the current situation of weddings in the States. I mean, a lot of people also are listening in from the industry here, and I mean, we are in stage 3 out of 5 lockdown.
Okay.
Which means after almost close to 120 days, we do not even know when events are going to take place. But I know in the States, like according to also like each and every like state, it is different. But how is it with you right now? Is there weddings taking place? What is the situation like right now?
Yeah, we're definitely here in Atlanta, Georgia. There are weddings taking place. They're far and few in between. That's mostly, I would say, industry wide, maybe only 20 to 30% of clients did not want to move to next year. So they're still moving forward. However, our numbers with Corona are spiking. So that means that, you know, what was available last month or last week where we could have 50 plus people at a social gathering is now going down. You know, we've seen even just Walmart just say, hey, you cannot enter without a mask at all. So our future right now with special events and big events is very uncertain. Again, we don't see it. And I've just honestly, before I spoke to you, I spoke to a venue, one of our biggest venues in town, and they're hoping to just even make it through to next year. You know, it's just really, really bad when you have your rent is $100,000 a year. I mean, $100,000 a month, and you don't even know how you're going to make that. And like, literally, like, well, do we take the venue, make it a school? But then schools are not coming out. So, you know, if the kids aren't able to go back to school, how are we honestly able to even have a celebration? So we're just we're regressing, unfortunately, right now, which we all thought would happen. I think it's just happening a little sooner. We thought we would have the whole summer to go ahead and produce special events. And once fall came back, then the Corona would spike. But until we have any kind of vaccination, there is no such thing as normal.
Yeah, that's, I mean, that is the same situation. I mean, in one way, we are happy to hear that. In the other way, it's really sad to hear that, because, I mean, it is devastating for a lot of people. And I mean, there are a lot, specifically also in our country, a lot of very small and medium-sized businesses who are in the wedding and events industry, you know, and I mean, they need to somehow survive. And I think in our case, particularly, there is no industry lobby really that is pushing forward for the life of those people, you know, to at least, I don't know, like get government funding, or like somehow a way
there's
to
nothing,
make
there's no funding, nothing, not 1 cent
survival like possible. And it's not about survival of the fittest in this case, because it's really devastating, and people could not really make provisions for such a long time, you know, maybe 1 month, 2 months, okay, but we are approaching 4 months, and it is quite quite daunting now for a lot of people, because they do not see any silver lining at the end of the horizon. But
that's fine.
So this is this is a difficult topic, but I hope just that by really people by next year, I mean, are going to be super busy. All the couples that have postponed from this year to next year, and all the couples that in any case wanted to get married next year. I just hope and pray for a lot of people to be quite busy. So now it's a good time to just like take this extra me time and carry it over for next year.
Exactly.
Yes. Is there any specific like you said, you have done those events, this high level events, and you have been quite exhausted from a lot of times also doing this. Is there something specific what you remember, what you said that took so much energy, but by the end of the day it worked out so well? You have sometimes, I mean I remember one event, so it was, I almost was to give up, you know, to say, you know what, I'm out, I'm getting out of this. But then when you see the pictures and when everything is alive, then you say, wow, we did it, you know. There is specific things that you remember. Is there something like most challenging that you remember? And if it's possible, maybe can you tell us about that?
I'm gonna give you a little bit more of a spin on that answer, because I feel like every event is like that, right? Every event is challenging. We always laugh. For me, the events that have the least amount of like decor and stuff going on is usually my hardest weddings. I don't understand why that is, but it is what it is. I think what has been the most challenging in my business is when I did not know who my client was or identify who my client was, and constantly working with people that didn't necessarily fit the brand or my personality. That was 10 times more challenging than the outcome of the event. So until I really identified and understood who I wanted to service, who was that client's personality. Like, for example, I am the type of planner that's going to drop F-bombs at least 10 times during our planning process. If that's not the client and it'll offend them, then that's not the client for me. But if you have that type of client and you're trying to change who you are to appease that client, that is way more exhausting and way more challenging than it could ever be. So it wasn't until I was honest with myself, honest with my business as to who was a good fit, and understanding that not everyone was a good fit just because they had money or that they could pay.
Yeah.
Until I was able to acknowledge that and change that and really take on who was for me and a great fit for me, everything was a challenge, to be honest.
I think also, and I think it doesn't matter how big or small you are, you must be able also to say no to a client. Yep. And I think that is like to draw a line for your own.
It's difficult.
It's difficult, but I think like specifically when you're starting out, I think that there's almost a no-go because, but it just takes too much from you, then you will be able to give. And right. I think it's just like extremely important that people like need to understand that not every client is your client, and that's why there are so many of us, because there will be a client that will fit someone if it's not you. And I think a lot of people in the beginning, and I mean us included, because this is how you start out, you are happy for every customer that walks through the door, you know, and you need them to pay the bills, because that it is. But some, and it's not even because of the people, it's just there's not the right fit. You do not fit like to each and every person in this world, and this is not because there's something wrong with you or with them, it's just you don't vibe. And I think by the end of the day, it costs you more, not maybe financially, but it costs you more what you put in such a relationship, a forced relationship that you must make work, because I mean there is no other way. There is a wedding going on, and like you need to produce and you need to like finalize, but there is so much fight, and usually like so much like
it's like an arranged marriage.
Yeah, it's like an arranged marriage, yes. That it takes just too much of your personal energy, and it's not enjoyable for you as a planner and designer. And I think this is the key. When it is not enjoyable, and if it's not something that really sparks your excitement, then the outcome and the result overall will not be as good as when it is like a forced relationship. And this is sometimes I think people that have maybe come to a certain point need to also understand that saying no is okay, you know, just as the same as saying like, you know, I'm not feeling okay is okay, because not everyone is for everyone. And I think that is quite important in the industry. I think that people realize that as well, that you must find your client. You must find your tribe. You must find the people that make you happy, and you can make happy, because there will be always people that no matter what you're gonna do, Absolutely. You cannot serve them. You know, you cannot just make it right. And don't try, because you're not gonna succeed.
Exactly. And it's really paying attention to the signs. I remember when I worked in corporate America, and I would be fine, having an amazing day, get to work, hit the elevator, and immediately feel sick. No matter what. Like I get there and I'm like, oh my God, now I don't feel well. And I remember saying to myself, anytime that happened, I knew it was time to leave that job. And once I shared that story with other people, they're like, oh my God, that happens to me too. So I think as entrepreneurs, we feel because we have to pay our bills, because we want to move ahead, we feel like we need to take on any and everything. And I agree. At the beginning, you have to take on every and everything, A, to pay your bills, but B, to identify who that client is. You don't know until you experience many different clients. But once you do, adhere to those signs, make those changes, because like we were saying earlier, life is short, you know, building a legacy, you know, charge more so that you are able to enjoy what you do. Because as I tell people, I don't work for my clients, I work with my clients, which is two totally different things, you know? And when you realize that, hey, you can't have vacations or you're not there for your family, whether you have children or not, the way that you should be, but you are producing all these memories, but haven't produced them for yourself, it really puts things into perspective.
Yeah, right. When we come almost to an end of our chat, what would you give as a advice for, or as a recommendation for a young entrepreneur in the event business? What is it what you had to learn in a
hard way,
way?
Like apart from what you said right now.
Yeah, stay hungry, stay humble. Stay humble. I mean, we're in the day and age where anybody, I mean, it could be a A-list celebrity, you could be A-list today and D-list tomorrow, right? So there's some star ready to take your place. But if you stay hungry and you stay humble, you will outlast the times.
Yeah, and never forget like how much excitement you had with your first client.
Absolutely.
I think like this is like the key, I think, also to success is like, I mean, I hope like your first client was one of your favorite clients, but to always treat your client as if it's your first client, and that you have something to lose, you know, because I think also with success, a lot of people forget that they have something to lose.
Yeah,
You
and
know, so I think you could become quite comfortable in a certain way. Like obviously, the more followers you have, the more numbers you have, you know. But I think even like, I mean, this is it. The more you have, the more pressure actually is on.
The more you can lose.
The more you can lose. The more you also, you're a role model to other people that look up to you and that you need to serve as well. I mean, it's not only, you are then at the stage where you're not longer doing it for you only, you know. I think that is something that people like need to learn.
Yeah. And that's where the humble part comes in, because it's so easy to get caught up in the hype. It's so easy to get caught up in the numbers. It's so easy because you've done a celebrity wedding, so you can put celebrity in front of your title and think that that's it. They're so far and few in between that it should not be your driving force. You know, you have to treat your clients as if you've never had a celebrity wedding, because they are your bread and butter. You're servicing them much more are the celebrity. So that's where the humble part is just remembering where you've come from, what you've done, and what more you have left to do. You know, if you're in this industry, like I've done it all, then you just need to leave the industry because you have nothing left to give. But staying humble and knowing that there's so much more that you can do.
And when we are very, very, very honest, at least here in South Africa, the less you earn on a celebrity wedding, but the more you earn on a normal wedding, because the celebrities here, at least, they want to get like a lot of things as how
sponsored. That's here in the US. You guys are not alone.
So you get maybe a lot of credit, but not a lot of money on your bank account with these weddings.
Exactly.
So, nonetheless, it's not bad to have here and there some, but it's not the goal. Actually, it shouldn't be the goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Elly, it was absolutely a pleasure talking to you, and I hope we see you soon here in Africa. Somehow, when the next plane is arriving, I can just offer you a holiday on the beach. That's all what I can. If you want to take me up on that, just let me know.
I will, for sure. Thank you so much for having me, guys. I appreciate it. Anytime you need me, I'm here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Guys.
Have a good time. Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Keep
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.